kicked to the curb, and Uber driver boots a YouTube star, saying his stunt was anti-Semitic. The CBS 2 News team is here, and that offensive ride is our top story. And CBS 2's Crystal Cruz is live with the video of the man who goes by Asian Andy. His fans pay to post whatever they want, and Andy plays the comments in public. Here's Crystal.
Hi, Pat. Yeah, this ride started here in Hollywood. The driver wasn't having any of this. That's when he decided to kick the YouTube star out. And tonight we're hearing from both the driver and Asian Andy.
I'm pretty sure the Holocaust never happened.
Yeah,
why do we always hear about it?
When YouTube star Asian Andy live streamed viewer comments from a speaker during a ride share, it didn't go over well with the driver.
Hitler did nothing wrong.
What? Get out of my car. All right, sir. Have a good day.
Rideshare driver Aaron Wyrick is Jewish.
All Jews are my family, and my family lost 6.5 million people in the Holocaust. And I have a good sense of humor, but when you talk about slavery, you talk about the Holocaust, things like that, I simply can't. I can't stand for that. So he had to go. Asian Andy's YouTube channel has more than 30 million views and says it isn't meant to be hateful, but it's filled with outrageous stunts and comments viewers pay to post that many may find offensive.
It's more of like a, just playing on the outrageousness of the circumstances.
Andy says he understands why Aaron got upset.
Oh, 100%, yeah. It's 100% understandable, and I sympathize with him.
People that want to forget this, people that want to make light of this, this is how it's going to happen again.
And the driver wants Asian Andy to publicly apologize. I'm Crystal Cruz, live in Hollywood. Back to you, Pat.
Thank you, Crystal. Developing news now. Crews have cleared down power lines from the 10 freeway in Ontario after a massive traffic nightmare right outside a packed Pink concert. CBS 2's Tina Patel is live at the scene in Ontario. Tina.
Yeah, a really frustrating night for drivers here in the Inland Empire. And tonight, Etiwanda Avenue is still closed off because the power pole that came down earlier still hasn't been repaired. Pink putting on quite a show in the Inland Empire tonight, but some of the drama coming before she even took the stage. Thousands of fans stressed out about getting to the arena in Ontario because the freeway was completely shut down this evening.
I didn't know. I was wondering why the traffic was so bad. I didn't know there was, the freeway was shut down. The unlikely cause of the backup, a truck working on a paving project on Etiwanda Avenue. Somehow it snagged an overhead line, knocking down a power pole and bringing live lines down on the lanes of the freeway.
You see it right there.
Although the lines did fall on a motorcycle and at least one car and caused a minor collision, it does not appear any drivers were seriously injured. But traffic had to be stopped so crews could de-energize the lines and move them safely out of the way, and that took some time.
It was really frustrating and I was exhausted, really, and I was sweating. It's hot, weather was not good, and I was not happy about that at all.
Yeah, a lot of people not happy, but traffic is moving back to normal now tonight, but there still are about 20 people in this area, or 20 customers in this area that still don't have power because of these downed lines. We'll send it back to you.
All right, thank you, Tina. A brutal case of road rage when a man smashes an SUV with a sledgehammer. It happened near Philadelphia. A passenger fell out when the driver tried to get away. The man then hit him with the hammer and then went after the driver. Everyone took off, and now police are trying to track down all three men. A major blow against the Mexican mafia in Southern California. Morning raids ended with 32 arrests. 35 other suspects are already behind bars. One of those indicted, the suspected ringleader, Jose Landa Rodriguez. He is described as the most powerful inmate in LA County jails. Authorities say he controlled all of the drug trafficking in the jail and even ordered at least 3 murders on the outside. Well, such a gruesome investigation. A son and his elderly parents beaten, shot, and their bodies piled on top of each other. They were found inside a home on Bronson Avenue in Leimert Park. And CBS 2's Tom Wade is live at the scene now to show us who's being questioned tonight. Tom?
And Pat, as you said, this was such a horrific scene. It all unfolded in the home on the corner here just behind me. Tonight, no arrest, but as you said, a woman is being questioned. Police are still searching for answers in a triple murder that unfolded at this Leimert Park home. Tonight, they're questioning 55-year-old Nancy Amelia Jackson. She was staying at the house, a friend of one of the three victims, Philip White Sr. White was found dead along with his parents, 82-year-old William Carter and his 77-year-old wife, Orsi. Neighbors are still trying to process what happened.
It still hasn't set in yet.
White's son came to the home last night to check on his dad. He would find his father and grandparents dead in a bathroom. Investigators say they all died from blunt force trauma, and two of them had also been shot.
It is real horrible to hear that.
Neighbors say White Sr. lived a quiet life after retiring from the probation department. He was also diagnosed with MS. His family checked on him often. We're told they were not happy to learn the woman who is now being questioned was staying with him weeks longer than planned. And on Monday, his family came over to talk about it.
He was taken out of his normal routine once she came into his life. Once in a while, you would see arguments.
Jackson has not been called a suspect and motive is still unclear, but detectives say nothing was stolen from the home. And police are also telling us tonight there were no signs of forced entry. Reporting live in Leimert Park, I'm Tom Waite. Pat, back to you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Police hope newly released security video leads to arrests. Two men broke into a parking garage in a Beverly Glen condo. They stole a minivan filled with medical laser equipment that's worth $500,000. The plastic surgeon who was ripped off says he's outraged.
You wake up in the morning and you see this happening, it's really discouraging. I think they just saw big equipment and they decided to take it.
The plastic surgeon also said he's still making payments on the medical lasers and says the equipment is worthless to the crooks. President Trump continues to stand by his charge that his campaign was spied on for political motives, but no federal officials are backing him up. The president again today called the Russia investigation a witch hunt carried out by a, quote, criminal deep state.
It looks like a very serious event, but we'll find out. When they look at the documents, I think people are going to see a lot of bad things happen. I hope it's not so, because if it is, there's never been anything like it in the history of our country.
The president's claim that the intelligence and law enforcement agencies are out to get him has been contradicted by the heads of each of those agencies, all appointed by President Trump and confirmed by a Republican-led Senate.
Everyone should be treated with dignity and fairness and decency.
A message from adult film star Stormy Daniels as she received a key to the city of West Hollywood. As CBS 2's Peter Doubt shows us, her appearance quickly turned into a political event.
Yes, I told her she's a patriot.
Say what you want about Stormy Daniels, but she definitely knows how to get a crowd.
I hereby, along with my colleague Mayor Pro Tem John D'Amico, declare it Stormy Daniels Day in the city of West Hollywood.
Wednesday, the adult film actress was honored by West Hollywood officials and even given a key to the city. Daniels has said she had an affair with Donald Trump in 2006 and is sued to invalidate the confidentiality agreement she signed right before the presidential election. She's also suing Trump and his personal attorney, Michael Cohen, alleging defamation.
This community has a history of standing up to bullies and speaking truth to power, and I'm so very, very lucky to be a part of it.
Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, also hinted that new information about the scandal is coming.
I don't think we've even really begun yet. I think the last 2.5 months have been a warm-up lap. I think there's a lot more information, a lot more bombs to drop.
West Hollywood leaders have passed several resolutions opposing Trump policies. So it's no surprise that many residents see Daniels as a leader in the movement resisting the administration.
Stormy Daniels represents a strong woman that's standing up against the system.
But there were also protesters who say they too live in West Hollywood and criticized the city for choosing to honor Daniels.
And our city leaders apparently are more interested in hashtag resisting the president than they are in taking care of the crime and the blight and the piles of trash on our streets.
The president has denied having a relationship with Daniels, who also sold merchandise with the hashtag Team Stormy. In West Hollywood, Peter Doubt, CBS 2 News.
Well, another night of incredible pictures out of Hawaii. This is a live look at the lava spewing from the Kilauea volcano. Scientists have also been tracking rare images of blue methane flames burning from cracks in the pavement. The eruption's been going on for weeks now. Well, after huge backlash, a kids' movie that's already out in theaters is being re-edited. Parents were upset over jokes in the movie Show Dogs that made light of strangers touching a dog's private parts. They said it set a dangerous example for children. Deadline reports the new version of the movie without those scenes will be in theaters by this weekend. Hold on, kitty. A cat somehow ended up on the roof of a van going 60 miles an hour down a Nebraska highway. The person taking the video finally got the driver's attention and they pulled over. Turns out the cat's name is Rebel and belongs to the woman in the van. She had no idea Rebel hitched a ride and says they drove 2 miles from home before they were stopped. She says Rebel didn't even seem bothered by the wild ride. Well, thank goodness Rebel's okay. Now, drivers keep asking the question, why, when it comes to California's gas prices? The average price of a gallon of unleaded is $3.75 here in the Southland. That's 70 cents higher than last Memorial Day weekend, the highest since August of 2015. Drivers say they're feeling the spike.
We just bought a brand new fifth wheel. Didn't realize the prices were going up so high on the gas. We live a half a mile from the beach, but this is where we're going to camp this weekend because this is what we can afford.
Well, in spite of the rising cost of fuel, this coming holiday weekend, AAA says 3.2 million travelers will hit the road, a 5% jump over last year. It's an easy way to send money with just a click of a button, but some Zelle users are finding out the hard way that with convenience comes risk. And 2 on your sides, Christine Lazar joins us to explain that. Christine.
Well, you know, it's so easy. You could just take your cell phone here, put in my number, and send me money. But with,
just like that.
Just like that. But it's not always turning out to be so easy for people to actually have the money go where it needs to go. Now, Zelle is the bank's answer to Venmo, which is backed by PayPal. 100,000 people are signing up every day for this digital wallet. But is your money safe with Zelle?
One wrong keystroke.
Instead of 4910, I put 4918. So my finger hit the wrong button on my cell phone.
And Andy Weiss was out $250.
What did you think when you found out that that transaction wasn't protected?
I was very surprised.
You can send money safely because that's what it's for, and it's backed by the bank, so you know it's secure.
Though marketed as a safe and secure way to send money to people you know, Zelle has perhaps made things too easy. Both Andy Weiss of Orange and Brian Kem of Pasadena asked 2 on your side for help after they both lost hundreds of dollars when their money ended up in the wrong hands, sent to the wrong person.
I said, I'm going to shut down my account if you guys don't at least give me some answers, give me my money back, or at least look into this or change the way you operate with Zelle. And they just showed me the door.
Zelle is like Venmo, which is owned by PayPal, only the banks are behind it. Big banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America. $75 billion passed through Zelle last year. Kem used Zelle within his Bank of America phone app for the first time last year to send $300 to his mom, who is also a B of A customer. All he had to do was input her name and her telephone number and press send. But 2 days later, his mom still didn't have the cash, so Kem walked into his bank.
And they said, no, it went straight to her Chase account. To which I said, she doesn't have a Chase account, she has a Bank of America account. You know this because she's one of your customers. You have her phone number in your system.
Kem's mom has had her cell for several years, but somehow the money went to another account that was also registered with that phone number. Kem filed a claim with B of A and was told they wouldn't return his money because they initiated the transfer in accordance with his instructions.
They won't cover you if you lose your money. If you're trying to pay your rent and it goes missing, a lot of people can't afford that.
Weiss was trying to send $250 to his girlfriend Ann. He banks with Wells Fargo. Like Kem, all he had to do was input Ann's name and phone number and hit send. But as soon as he did that, he realized he had entered her number wrong by 1 digit.
I then immediately called Wells Fargo and said, hey, I've made a mistake. and need to stop this transfer before it goes through.
But he was told he couldn't do that. He would have to file a claim. And like Kem, that claim was denied. Wells Fargo said the payment was processed with no error on their part.
You better be really careful when you put this data in, because there's no way to take it back once you press send.
In the fine print, which is long, really long, it says once you send a payment, you will have no ability to stop it, and that neither the bank nor Zelle shall be liable for any typos or keystroke errors. John Villasenor is a cybersecurity expert at UCLA. He says there is always a trade-off between security and convenience.
Unfortunately, security is often an afterthought when there's a lot of market pressure to introduce new products to compete, for example, in the money transfer space.
Villasenor does believe Zelle will have to increase safeguards.
There's been some negative press associated with some of the vulnerabilities out there, and companies do have an interest in at the end of the day, having satisfied customers.
Now, in a statement, the parent company Early Warning says Zelle is safe and secure, and millions of Americans have used it successfully. Bank of America did agree to refund Brian's money, but Wells Fargo won't budge, and they have not refunded Andy's money. And in doing my research on Twitter, I saw a lot of complaints about Zelle. One man saying $2,200 showed up in his bank account from some woman he didn't know, and this poor girl was probably trying to send her rent money, and it ended up in his bank account, and he tried to contact Zelle to get it back to her, and he was never able to do so. He didn't even want the money. So I say send $1, the minimum amount, make sure it goes through, and then send the rest.
From there.
Yeah, but you're still also open to the second transaction not going right.
Yeah.
And, you know.
Any recommendations?
Just be careful and just make sure you know the person it's going to, and have that person register too, because that's a second safeguard, so that you're not just sending it to someone who may or may not, you know, be in the system.
Okay, good advice. As always. Thanks, Christine.
I'm here for you.
You are, thank you. And can 2 on Your Side help you? Just email 2 on Your Side at cbs.com with your problem, or on social media, use the hashtag 2 on Your Side. Well, Californians aren't the only ones getting ready for the big one. Arizona is preparing for an influx of evacuees if a massive earthquake ever destroys most of California. They're running drills this week to practice responding to as many as 400,000 evacuees leaving California. They want to see what's needed after a major catastrophe.
Where our systems are stressed when it comes to sheltering, when it comes to feeding, when it comes to fuel, because part of the scenario is a fuel line is compromised in California, which directly affects Arizona.
Officials are also making sure the roads leading out of California are ready for any mass influx of people heading east. The drills will wrap up tomorrow. Well, you know, we've got an influx of people, I'm sure, coming here to SoCal because of the weather, Garth. Looks like it's going to be a nice one this holiday weekend.
Yeah, and you know what else, Pat, people forget? You should keep cash with you at all times, some sort of cash around the house.
That's a good idea.
All electronics go down. That's why you got to keep a car. Think about it. You won't be able to access money out of an ATM for a while.
That's right.
Until you get to Arizona, yeah. Or do what I do, and I have my valet Cesar just carry bags of pennies for me. Send them out. It works. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, it is going to be, Pat is right, a lot of people coming to town. Why not? You know what, Pat? The weather's going to be perfect. We're going to be a little bit above normal as we get to Sunday and Monday, but a few lone souls out by the pier. We're still dealing with some decent surf. 60 degrees right now. Nice to have you with us, everybody. Thank you for being part of the family here at CBS 2 and 11. 58 right now in the Burbank, 60 downtown, 61 Fullerton, Costa Mesa at 61, Huntington Beach at the same, at 41 right now up in the Big Bear. Made it up to 69 today. Got that afternoon sunshine. We thinned the marine layer so slightly inland. That helped things come up a little bit. There's the surf hazards we've been talking about. They're not high surf advisories, still 3 to 6, 4 to 8. Got to be on south-facing beaches. Tomorrow should be the final day of that. Before it starts to back down, there you go. The overcast starting to propagate itself in through the overnight hours. It's really going to thicken up. We could see some more drizzle down to the south particularly, and you can see a little slower to clear. So we're sandwiched between a couple of lows, one that's moved out, another one moving towards the area. That's going to stick around through Friday into Saturday before we start to thin it out. And you can see by 9:30 tomorrow, drizzle, slow clearing day. It's going to take the afternoon. Then we'll do it all over again Friday into Saturday as well. Once again, it's all due to this area, low pressure moving out, the high to the south, and another low moving in as we go into the first half of the weekend. But then we'll start to trend up with some high pressure. Once we begin to trend up with the high pressure, things will change and we'll start to come up a little bit. Take a look at the 7-day. Pretty consistent by the beaches. By the time we get to Sunday, we thin it out. Things come up better for Memorial Day. Downtown looking pretty good. We start rocking it on Saturday, Sunday, into next week. Valley 72 up to 82 Sunday. 87 will be the warmest spot. Nothing that's too crazy. Nothing will make everybody clamor to get to the sand. So traffic shouldn't be too bad down there. All in all, Pat, looks really nice. While everybody splits town, I stay in town and just enjoy the city with no traffic. It's
I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, right? All right.
That's pretty smart too.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Garth. Well, local law enforcement makes a carpool karaoke cameo. That's ahead. Plus, we talk to tonight's Survivor winner and find out what he's going to do with the money. Also, could the Dodgers take 2 of 3 against the Rockies tonight? Jim Hill has the details ahead. And here's a look at the guests tonight on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert.